She hugged you. She held on for a second longer than a friend would. You felt it. Something real passed between you. And then, nothing. She pulled away, smiled, maybe said something like, "It was so good seeing you," and that was it. You watched her walk off, and you stood there trying to figure out what just happened. You texted later. You kept it casual. Maybe too casual, or maybe too eager. And she just faded, replied less, went cold. And now you're lying awake wondering what you did wrong. I'm Marcus, and this is The Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. And I need you to hear this right now. You didn't do anything wrong, not in the way you think. The problem wasn't your personality, your looks, your words, or your intentions. The problem was sequencing. You had the moment, you just didn't know what to do inside it or after it because no one ever taught you. That hug was a green light, and without a map, you froze or fumbled. That's not weakness. That's just a gap in your education. And today, we're going to close that gap for good. Here is what most men don't understand about female attraction. It isn't linear. It doesn't work the way most of us were raised to believe. We were taught that if you're kind, consistent, and interested, she'll feel the same. But that's not how the deeper wiring works. Women are not unfeeling or irrational. They're actually scanning constantly, often without realizing it themselves, for something very specific. Their nervous system is reading signals beneath the words, beneath the texts, beneath the surface of everything you do. Evolutionary psychology tells us that attraction in women is deeply tied to safety and stimulation at the same time. She needs to feel you are stable, grounded, not chasing or desperate, and she also needs to feel a pull, a charge, something slightly unpredictable that keeps her mind returning to you. Most men deliver one or the other. The ones who understand this deliver both. And I'll warn you now, the final trigger we're going to talk about today is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast. Almost no one uses it correctly because it feels counterintuitive until you understand the psychology behind it. So let's go through this together. 7 triggers, real ones, not manipulation, not tricks. These are natural psychological levers that exist in every human dynamic. You're not installing something fake. You're learning how to stop accidentally working against yourself. Let's start from the beginning. The first trigger is masculine presence. This is the foundation. Without this, everything else is noise. Presence doesn't mean being loud or dominant. It means being grounded. It means when you walk into a room, you're not scanning for her approval. You're not adjusting yourself based on how she reacts to you. Your internal state is calm, settled, rooted. Women detect this almost immediately because their nervous system is designed to. Think about a moment when you were the most relaxed version of yourself, maybe with your closest friends or doing something you're genuinely good at. That energy, that ease, that's what she's drawn to. Bring that to every interaction. Stop performing. Start being. A man who doesn't need her reaction to feel okay is magnetic by default. The second trigger is emotional challenge. This is where most good men accidentally destroy attraction. They agree with everything. They accommodate everything. They make themselves perfectly easy, perfectly safe, perfectly available. And what happens? She feels nothing. Challenge isn't about being difficult or cruel. It's about having a perspective, a little playful friction, a moment where she has to work just slightly to understand you or impress you. Tease her gently. Disagree with something small. Let her know your approval isn't guaranteed. Picture this. She says something like, "I always get what I want." Don't laugh it off. Look at her with a slight smile and say, "I believe that works on most people." Then let the silence breathe. That's polarity. That's emotional electricity. A man who challenges her lightly is a man she thinks about. The third trigger is selective attention. Your attention is a resource. The moment it becomes unlimited, it loses all value. Women are naturally more drawn to a man who has a full life, real priorities, real purpose. Not because they're playing games, but because depth is attractive. Scarcity creates value. That's not manipulation. That's human psychology. If you reply to every message instantly, if you're always available, if she's the clear center of your world after 3 conversations, something inside her registers that as low value. Not because she's cruel, but because her subconscious is asking, why does a high quality man have this much time? Give her real engagement when you're present, but have a life she's trying to enter, not a life you've already handed to her. A man with a full world is a man worth making space for. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. There are thousands of men right now who needed this information years ago. Don't let this be the video you watch and forget. The fourth trigger is intentional listening. This one separates men from boys in her experience. Most men listen to respond. Very few listen to understand and remember. If she mentions in passing that she's nervous about something at work, bring it up 3 days later. Not because it's a tactic, but because it signals something rare, that you actually saw her. Women are flooded with surface level attention, compliments about how they look, messages that are clearly copy paste energy, men who vanish the moment she stops being convenient. When you remember the small things, when you reflect them back to her without being asked, you become the man who sees her. And being truly seen is one of the deepest emotional needs a human being carries. A man who remembers what matters to her becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. The fifth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. Here's where men either shut down completely or collapse. Both are wrong. Shutting down, showing no depth, no emotional reality, that makes you two-dimensional. She feels like she can't reach you. But collapsing, unloading your fears and pain and insecurities the moment you feel close, that floods her with pressure she's not ready to hold. Calibrated vulnerability means sharing real things at the right time. Tell her something true about yourself that costs you something small. A doubt you had, a time you failed, a thing you're working through. Not to get sympathy, but to show that you're a man who can hold his own emotional weight while still being human. That combination, strength and depth, is rare, and she knows it. A man who can be honest without being fragile is someone worth trusting. The sixth trigger is gradual physical touch. After a hug, like the one that opened this conversation, touch matters. Not aggressively, not clumsily, but touch communicates what words sometimes can't. A light hand on her lower back, guiding her through a doorway, brushing her arm when you make a point, adjusting something on her sleeve as an excuse for contact. These small touches, done with calmness and intention, release oxytocin. That's not a metaphor. It's a literal chemical that creates bonding and warmth. The key word is gradual. Let each touch land. Don't pile them up nervously. Don't retreat the moment she doesn't react. Stay calm. Presence again. A man who touches with confidence and respect makes her body feel safe and drawn in at the same time. And now the seventh trigger, the one I warned you about, controlled unpredictability. This is about dopamine, the chemical that drives pursuit, desire, craving. Dopamine isn't released by things that are guaranteed. It's released by things that might happen. Reward circuits in the brain light up brightest during uncertain anticipation. This is why a man who is fully predictable, always warm, always available, always responding the same way, eventually becomes invisible to her desire. Not her respect, her desire. So vary your energy intentionally. Be deeply present one evening, then genuinely busy the next. Send a message that surprises her. Break the rhythm occasionally without explanation. Not to be cruel, not to play games, but to keep her mind asking questions about you, and questions create craving. The man she's uncertain about in a good way is the man she can't let go of. A man who can't be fully predicted can never be fully forgotten. Now, here's what I want you to understand. These aren't tricks. They're tools. Tools that exist because human attraction is a real psychological system with real patterns. Understanding those patterns doesn't make you manipulative, it makes you educated. Every woman you use these with deserves your respect and your intention. Use this to build something real, not just to win a moment. The goal was never to collect a reaction. The goal is to become the kind of man who creates genuine, lasting attraction because he actually understands what he's doing. You walked into this video feeling like you missed something after that hug. You didn't miss it because you're broken. You missed it because you were never given the map. Now you have the map. That changes things quietly. You won't announce it, you won't explain it to anyone, but the next time she looks at you, something will be different, and she'll feel it without knowing why. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentle Mind now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality again.